everyone and welcome to Thorough Newspaper Analysis. Let's see what articles we will be discussing today. Firstly, back and forth. So basically this article talks about the recent financial action task force that we have for actually maintaining the peace and order at the international level, and so that the international terrorism and funding can be stopped. So we'll be discussing that, keeping in mind the position of Pakistan especially. Secondly, reversing health sector neglect with a reform agenda. Basically, now as we know that after the COVID-19 pandemic, the health sector, especially in India, needs to be revised and refurbished altogether. So keeping that in mind, what are the areas wherein we need to work? Though in some or the other way, we have done similar articles, but here it was a very conclusive one, very a nice one. That is why we have taken it up again. Thirdly, the challenges of catching elusive taxpayers. Now, as we know that the taxation system in India is a one different one, and then there is a different, there are different challenges as if we talk about India, and how can those challenges be taken up, and how those elusive or the ones who are actually, they do not, come as efficient taxpayers, how can they be caught? And finally, Newsflash, which is LawSikho's own initiative, and wherein we will be talking about the small and crisp news pointers, which are especially important for a prelims exam, etc. Let's have a look at the LawSikho courses. So we would like to endorse to you the lot of the courses that we have, which is the Judiciary Test Prep course. And this course actually is really good, and the link for this course is already there in the description box, so you can go and check it out. And on the landing page, you can collect for yourself free study material and download it then and there. We have various other courses like for CLAT, for All India Bar Exam, etc. And very soon we are coming with a full-fledged law optional course as well. You can definitely have a look at that too. With this, let's see what is the multiple choice question for the day. The tribal community of Bondas belongs to which of the following states? First, Arunachal Pradesh. Second, Odisha. Third, Madhya Pradesh. Or fourth, Assam. So this is the descriptive question for you all. Discuss the various issues involved in the taxation system in India. I'll also discuss the positive steps that can be taken to resolve the problem. So the answer to this has to be written within a word limit of maximum 250 to 300 words. You can also jot down this answer in the comment section below, and we will definitely review the answer. With this, let's quickly start with the first article. FATF obligations and Pakistan. So basically the article today also had mainly talked about the listing of Dawood Ibrahim, etc. and so on. So that particularly is not important for us, but we should know that Pakistan has recently listed 87 designated terrorists, among whom we also have Dawood Ibrahim, under a statutory regulatory order directing officials to implement the United Nations Security Council Committee resolutions against them. So basically now by this we can simply understand that Pakistan is under some or the other kind of obligation, and according to the United Nations Security Council Committee resolutions, it has this duty to curb down or bring down the terrorism that it was promoting earlier. Now let's see that why actually Pakistan had to issue this statutory regulatory order. Firstly, to align Pakistan's domestic listing with United Nations Security Council's listing and Al-Qaeda Sanctions Committee. So it was actually Pakistan's, it was Ministry of Foreign Affairs actually had to do this. Then secondly, FATF plenary session. Please mind, this is FATF, not FAFT. FATF basically is the Financial Action Task Force. Plenary session will decide whether to remove Pakistan from grey list or downgrade it to the blacklist. Basically, as per the current scenario, Pakistan is on the grey list of FATF. So basically, what does it mean to be on the grey list? Simply, if any nation is on the grey list, basically currently Pakistan and Iran both are on the grey list of the FATF. So they are actually, projected to various sanctions and various international pressures. And once, if they're not able to work in the direction of putting down the terrorism, or what do we say, to align by the requirements as issued by the United Nations Security Council or the FATF, then they might be downgraded to the blacklist, and through which there will be huge international pressure and international tarnishing of the image as well. So currently, as we know, that Pakistan is under the grey list of FATF, and it has been stipulated some time to work in this direction and to show significant efforts in putting down the terrorist activities. Now, this is important for us to understand that what actually is the FATF. Intergovernmental organization which was founded in 1988 in Paris. So basically it is an intergovernmental organization. Secondly, this initiative was taken by the G7 to combat money laundering, and later it was also expanded. That is the agenda of FATF was further expanded to include terrorism funding in 2000. And then it is the president is Dr. Markus Player of Germany is the current one. He also appointed by the FATF plenary. And basically the membership is 39 members. It has 39 members, and India also is a member of FATF. So all these points should be kept in mind, and these can be a very potential question from prelims point of view as well regarding the FATF. Now with this, let's discuss the second article for the day, which talks about health reforms. So basically the health sector in India and US have badly been affected due to the absence of universal health coverage. So basically this article all in all talks about the pros that we have and the need for having universal health coverage. So by universal health coverage, we basically mean that any system of governance of health, basically any system of health in any country, wherein the schemes, the idea, the method of governing the health of the people, etc., they are done into a universal manner. Like for example, we have universal adult franchisee. So that basically means that it means a universal right to vote to a major person. So similarly, universal health coverage means that a particular scheme that is universally applicable for the health of all the people in a country. And in India, as we know that currently we have Ayushman Bharat, that is world's largest health coverage scheme, but still it is not the universal health coverage scheme because though it aims to cover a huge population and even the largest in the entire world, but still it still does not cover the entire population of our own country, and that is why the program under it are not actually universal in their nature. Now we'll discuss this into detail as to why do we need universal health coverage. Let's see that what are the legacy implications and other problems. Now let's see that what are the issues that we have currently. Firstly, certain entrenched characteristics of the health system dictate evolution. So basically in US as well. So in this article, a soft comparison between US and India has been drawn to give an idea as to how, if we keep on moving on this path itself, we will be at loss, and why it would be really good for India if in such situations of COVID-19, we are able to reform our health system in a positive manner. So according to the case of United States, foundational aspects of healthcare could not be altered. So basically fragmented private insurance, expensive specialized care, etc. These were the areas which had to be worked upon, but still they formed the basis and they could never be corrected till date. And that is why to see along India, US is the other country that has been hit most hardly by the COVID-19. And if we see in the case of India, weak public and pervasive health care has impact reforms. Now, as we know that we have a very weak public health system now, because that is the reason why we are also, thanking our God that thankfully the COVID-19 did not hit that hard in the rural areas, because already we realize this, that the condition of healthcare or health delivery systems in the rural areas is even worse than the urban areas. And that is why we understand that the distribution of public and private healthcare services in India is not at all uniform. Secondly, health insurance like under the Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, which is the PMJ Yojana, driven by private players rather than strengthening public healthcare, system. Now, basically, as we know that here also a few private players might have taken the advantage of everything. Rather, we were unable to strengthen the entire public healthcare system under the Jan Arogya Yojana, under the Ayushman Bharat scheme as well. Then maldistribution of healthcare. Now, as we just discussed in our just previous point, that 2/3 of the corporate hospitals are in major cities and low budget for insurance is available, and that is why the distribution of healthcare resources is not at all uniform in India. In fact, there are some remote areas and maybe some tribal areas where even the basic facilities of the health and clinical advances are not available. Then, second, long legacy compromises, fast dependent trajectory, precluding reforms. The bigger and deeper the reform, the more the resistance. Now, as we know that there are a lot of resistance that we see from people as well. So, it is not the case that you bring some kind of change or a new, to say, system, and people are just readily accepting that. Definitely, that is not the case. So, in India, there is a lot of trajectory issues also. Trajectory issues means the issues that you face being on the way of implementing something. So basically those are the more or less the public resistance to various schemes. Then the lack of regulatory provisions. Now here an example to this could be the National Digital Mission. So National Digital Health Mission, though wherein we try to we will be trying to connect all the patients all around the country through digital means, and they will then no more be required to carry their reports, X-ray reports, prescriptions, etc. in the physical manner, and they will be able to give the access of their documents to the doctor directly through online means. So basically that is also a very high chance that will also be facing a lot of resistance from the people, because obviously there are a lot of areas in the country that are quite orthodox and are not easily acceptable to changes. In such a situation, it is very high chance that a resistance is seen from the people and also from the doctors as well. So that was one of the examples where trajectory issues could be seen. Now next, lack of regulatory provisions. Now, just as we discussed, universal insurance or missions such as the NDHM, which is a National Digital Health Mission, without enough regulatory robustness may affect cost, equity and quality. Because as we know that in India, we still do not have any concrete personal data protection bill or act for that matter. We still have it in a just in an evolutionary stage till date, and that is why such initiatives like the NDHM are really difficult to implement, because there is no any law available to protect the data of the people, which would be at stake definitely if NDHM is brought into action. Now let's see that what are the requirements for an effective universal health coverage. Firstly, we need a robust regulatory and administrative architecture, of course, to implement basically the current lacuna that we have and also to implement the new policy that we might have. Secondly, huge administrative expenses would be required in every sector. Now, be it in the private health sector, public health sector, it be in the education system, awareness system, and also in the lawmaking as well. And thirdly, technical capabilities, but obvious, if we, for example, try to develop the NDHM policy, which is the National Digital Health Mission, it cannot be just done in the air, right? We definitely need some technical capabilities and technical base to do this. For example, we will need better of computer systems, internet connections, then better equipped doctors with the digital know-how, and also the patients who can handle their further documents. Now, this will be all for this article. Let's see what do we have for the next article. Elusive taxpayer in India. Basically, due to decline in national income and fall in employment, India's tax collection is set to decline. Now, as we know that even before COVID-19 had impacted India, the economic system or the economy of India had not been really very flourishing. And that is why it was very much accepted that, and so it was very, very much expected as well, that due to the falling income and employment, the overall tax collection would be set to decline as compared to the normal rates. Recently, Prime Minister Narendra Modi introduced tax reforms in the make the system faceless, painless and seamless, and we had also discussed it before in our previous articles in the previous sessions, which we talked about transparent taxation, honoring the honest initiative. wherein an initiative would be taken by the government to make the entire system of taxation faceless, to avoid that any kind of corruption does prevails. So there should be no corruption, painless, so that the honest taxpayers are actually bearing no issue due to the corruption that is already prevailing, or due to any other administrative lacuna. And thirdly, seamless, so that the process of tax collection becomes easier and more effective. And according to the current scenario, only, just please mind the facts over here, that only and only 1.5 crore people paid income tax out of 135 crores of total population in India. Yes, that is the truth. That out of the entire population of 135 crores, only 1.5 crore of them are paying taxes. Now imagine that how many are actually eluding the taxes, or what we say, they're evading the taxes or hiding the taxes and not honestly paying the taxes to the government. And also imagine that if the government start receiving the righteous amount of taxes that it is entitled to receive, how much will it add to the entire tax collection, and how much better would it be for the entire economy of the country? Now let's see that why the number of taxpayers are decreasing, because definitely there has to be a reason as to why this substantial decrease is there in the income taxpayers in the country. Firstly, tax concession announced in budget 2020. Basically, there is no tax collection up to rupees 5 lakhs. So basically, keeping in mind the per capita income in India, there is a huge population that actually falls under this bracket, and already due to this bracket, a lot of people who are earning less than 5 lakhs a year are already provided tax concession according to the budget 2020. Secondly, failure of laws to bring rich into the tax net. So income tax to GDP is stagnant at 5.5%. So basically, some of the other policy failures occur from time to time, wherein the rich people are actually, who should be paying maybe the highest of the taxes, because definitely they are gaining the most from the economy. But still, in some other way, they are able to, save themselves from such huge taxes. Now they may do it by investing into some false NGOs or some shell companies. Shell companies basically are those companies which actually are just for the namesake and only exist on the paper. The investment that you actually show to be happening in that country never happens, and it is just done for the purpose of saving yourself some taxes. So basically, due to some policy issues, the rich people are still not coming under this bracket of the taxpayers, and they are still failing to pay the tax lawfully. Thirdly, top 10 of Indians earned 55% of nation's income in 2016. So basically, this income divide to say, or we can say the uneven distribution of income. Due to that, the burden of paying taxes falls on particular people who are very few in number, and a lot of people actually escape this bracket very easily. So basically, 55% excludes black income, and here only 10% of the Indians they earn the 55% of nation's income, and this actually excludes the black income. So that is why we see that a large share of good income was actually earned by just 10% of Indians, and that is why who will be the taxpayers now would be these 10% of the Indians only. Next, from 2014 to 19, more than 23% high net worth individuals left the country. This is one of the another biggest issues that we are currently facing, that in India, due to various other issues, now maybe due to the lack of ease of doing business, or maybe better opportunities available in the other countries, or maybe various countries that are known as the tax havens or the safe havens for taxes, wherein the taxation system are very loose, and the people don't really have to pay a lot of taxes even on the amount of money that is earned, that too on a lot of amount of money. And since 2014 to 19, more than 23,000 high net worth individuals left the country, and definitely now they will not be liable to pay taxes, or even if they will be able to hoard these taxes very easily and will not be paying the right amount of taxes that they actually had to. Next, failure of the government policies to bring back black money from abroad. Now, as we know, that in many election campaigns, the government had definitely promised that they will be bringing the black money and India will be rich again. And the famous saying or jumla that we said about making India again the golden bird or Sone ki chidiya, that definitely have some or the other way have just remained to be the political jumlas only, and they have not really been able to be achieved in the real sense. And that is why we can say that the government policies and basically the government has basically failed to bring back the black money from abroad. And sixthly, schemes like Vivad se Vishwas to settle tax disputes have failed to deliver. Now, very recently, the government, while presenting the budget for the next year, this year, had presented this this bill called as Vivad se Vishwas bill, wherein it attempted that wherever there are issues of companies that are going bankrupt or have huge debts on themselves, they will be able to confront the government and pay their debts in a more effective manner, and the government will be giving them more security and will be giving them easy relaxations so that they can easily pay their debts and contribute to the tax paying regime. But that actually has till date not reaped any significant benefits to the government or the taxation system in India as yet. Now here, reasons for a new system for tax collection are: firstly, we need a system to avoid nexus between taxpayer and the officer involved. Basically, this nexus or relationship or the physical interaction that actually happens between the taxpayer and the officer brings in the very institution of corruption. Because definitely, instead of paying, for example, a taxpayer has a total income of 500 rupees, of which he has now to pay approximately rupees 100 as taxes to the government. But then he realizes that one of the government officers or the taxation officers is ready to let him escape this tax by just paying rupees 50 to that particular officer. So definitely it will be really, really easy for that taxpayer to pay rupees just 50 to that collection officer instead of paying wholesome amount of rupees 100 as the income tax to the government. And definitely to save himself from the money or from the large amount of income tax that he has to pay, he will definitely feel it easier to bribe the officer involved, and this will definitely put in the institution of corruption. That is why this particular nexus between the taxpayer and the officer must be broken. And the recent initiative that has been taken for transparent taxation honoring the honest has taken one of these steps. Let's see, that is a matter of observation, that how much is it successful to be done. Secondly, to increase departmental efficiency, basically it is currently understaffed as well, and that is why there are the cases of under-satisfaction also coming forward, and that is why the efficiency of the taxation department must be enhanced. And thirdly, decrease time to scrutinize the cases, because obviously we have such long time pendency of the cases, and that is why the IBC code, which is the insolvency and bankruptcy code, and various other steps that have been taken into this direction are a positive step, and they should be done more efficiently. So with this, we are done with the major articles for the day. Let's see what do we have for the news in flash. DNA bill. So basically it is still a bill. We are still to see the future of this bill. Basically the bill proposes DNA sampling and profiling of citizens accused of crime or reported missing and storing their unique genetic information for administrative purposes. So basically the draft report of the Parliamentary Standing Committee said that this bill is actually premature. So basically it aims to keep a data set of the genetic information and for the administrative purposes of whom the people who are accused of any kind of crimes, and to keep the missing reports. Then the bill has alarming provisions that could be misused for caste or community profiling. Yes, definitely that could be a case, because then once you know that who this person is, to which caste or which community he is belonging from, there is a high chance that a system of discrimination might occur. And thirdly, the report has also red flagged disregard to an individual's privacy. As we just discussed, that we still do not have a Personal Data Protection Act or legislation in India, and that is why the data that would be recorded through this DNA bill, if it is made an act and comes into action, would actually be put to a huge risk of being evaded and misused. Secondly, COVID-19 reaches Bondas. Now, this is probably the answer to the question that we asked today. Bondas are a tribal community residing in the hill ranges of Malkangiri, Odisha. So basically, Bondas is a tribal community that belongs to Odisha. This can be a very potential prelims question. This should be kept in mind. It is a particularly vulnerable tribal group. So not only is it a tribal community, but also a PVTG. So basically, particularly vulnerable tribal group it is a complete list which is prepared wherein approximately 20 to 30 or even more or just simply various tribal groups are put into this list which are more vulnerable towards distinction or some other kinds of social issues, and that is why a special attention must be given by the government towards them, and they have a population of around 7,000 people only. So there are a total of 13 PVTGs and in 16 districts. So earlier there were a lot of PVTGs, but now they have been reduced to 13 PVTGs in 7 districts of Odisha, and total 62 tribal communities are there into this now, as we just discussed. Thirdly, 1.8 kilometer ropeway across Brahmaputra. Built at the cost of 56 crores, it is currently one of the longest ropeway across a river in India, which will connect Guwahati to North Guwahati. Now, for your clearance, I would like to tell what actually do we mean by ropeway. So basically, you must have seen that there are tall, huge towers from one end to the other, and there is a trolley kind of a structure that connects through a very strong rope, iron rope, which is their metallic rope, which connects the two towers, and it is more of like, moving to and forth in this ropeway. You might have seen in various places like in Mussoorie, in Srinagar as well, in the Gulmarg area of Srinagar, then also in Mussoorie and various other areas, and that they actually make the commutation or the movement, especially in the hilly areas, very easy, because then you can travel from one height to the other height through these trolleys. So basically, this ropeway is one of the longest ropeway across a river in India, and it will connect Guwahati to North Guwahati, and it will reduce the traveling time, as we said, from 30 minutes to just 8 minutes and promote tourism in the state. So this was all for the day. We hope it was a good session for you. Stay tuned with LawSikho for such more sessions to come. Thank you so much.